welcome into another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. So happy to have you here with me today. 3 weeks post-op today. Wow. It is a whole new world out here. I'm telling ya, I can sniff, I can smell, I can sneeze without it being painful right now. I don't have scabs in my nose anymore. Your girl is making a recovery. I'm still technically not supposed to be blowing my nose. I am like a little bit, just like a little soft exhale, you know what I mean? But I am doing my nasal rinses every single day. And this is how I know I'm getting better from this full fess and septoplasty, as I used to dread the nasal rinses. Like, couldn't get anything out. The water came through my mouth. Now it's like the best part of my day. Like I wake up, I have my coffee, I do my nasal rinse because I'm like, as soon as I do this, I'm going to feel so much better. And it doesn't take as long. I like give it a hard squeeze and it's in one nostril, out the next. And then you do it the other side and it's just, I'm honestly going to miss those nasal rinses when I no longer have to do them. I think they said like 30 days post-op. And I would continue to do those rinses. I also have not coughed. In fact, well, I have a little bit. It's been kind of like ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? But normally I was going through 3 bags of the heavy duty Vicks menthols a week. I've only bought 1 bag of cough drops and I've had like, I think since my surgery, maybe like 5 total. In fact, I think it's just because I'm eating dairy. Like which I'm never going to stop eating dairy, but sometimes it does trigger some reflux in the throat. But anyways, I went to the heavy duty cough drops that I used to have after eating like a bowl of chili one night, put it in my mouth. And literally I was like, how did I not know that I was poisoning myself for the past 1.5 years with these menthol cough drops that literally taste like gasoline now? It's so crazy. I have this whole new sense of smell and taste, and it's a whole new world out there for me. And I gave those cough drops to other people sometimes when they would ask. I feel like I need to text them and apologize for poisoning them. And why did they pretend like it was okay that I gave them gasoline in the form of a cough drop? It's crazy. So I think all signs that I am well on my way to being fully recovered. Now, it said like, yes, ChatGPT, and they'll tell you you're going to be recovering until 2030. But they did say like 6 to 8 weeks until you feel totally fine. But, I am feeling really good. So thanks for all the T's and P's. I might have an improved sinus situation. I've never been more pale in my entire life. It's always around December 10th, 11th that you're just like, wow, especially if you live in Northeast Ohio, like, wow, the sun, where did it go? What does it look like? What does the vitamin D do to my body? Like I miss those days because I'm just looking uglier and uglier by the day as I get paler and paler and like sickly looking. It's frigid here in Northeast Ohio. It's like 10 degrees at all times. Haven't left the house in 4 days. And honestly, that's how I prefer it. But my husband, not so much. So we need to get to Florida is basically what I'm hearing. Anywho, let's go ahead and dive right into this week's Pop 3. 3 biggest trending headlines. We have to start with the Diddy documentary. I feel like every, 3 to 4 months, there's a new Diddy documentary. This one is causing waves. The Reckoning. It's the #1 documentary on Netflix right now. It's a 4-part mini docuseries. It was directed by Alex Stapleton, and it was executive produced by 50 Cent. Okay. And like the white girl in me wants to say 50 Cent produced this, but I know that's not necessarily how you're supposed to pronounce it. Curtis Jackson, his government name, amongst others, right? So the series examines the life and career of Diddy from his meteoric rise to serious allegations and legal issues that have followed him. And it includes this new intimate footage long story short, I think he was planning on making his own documentary after his trial if he would have got off scot-free. That didn't end up happening. And the word on the street, allegedly, is that he didn't pay this videographer. And then the videographer ended up giving the, allegedly, it might not have been the videographer. It might have been a third party. Somebody handed that footage over to 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, and he put it in this documentary. And it's all these behind the scenes moment of him in the hotel in New York leading up to his arrest, talking through legal strategies with his lawyers and, berating people and, drugs all over the place. It's crazy. I mean, the fact that he has this in the documentary is crazy. And, he's done all these interviews and he's been asked, how did you get this footage? And he's like, a journalist never reveals his sources, period, Curtis. There's a lot of interviews from collaborators, associates, people who were once close to him, offering firsthand perspectives on his behavior, his business dealings, and alleged abuses. It delves into a really broad spectrum of topics. And of course, before it came out, the Combs team denounced it, saying it's a shameful hit piece, claiming it used unauthorized or stolen footage to paint him negatively. And it's like, if you watch this documentary, it's like, of course, what else would their reaction be? But of course, this is their reaction. Every single situation that Diddy has ever put himself in, he is the victim of, in his mind. You know what I mean? So it's like, duh, they're going to come out and say something like this. But Netflix and filmmakers say all the footage was obtained legally and that the series is not simply sensationalism, but a broader look at fame, power, and accountability. I, for one, have never been more knowledgeable about the East Coast, West Coast, 1990s, Bloods and the Crips, tension, than I am right now. I didn't really think that in my life I would ever become knowledgeable in that category, but it's important to learn something new every day. If you watch this Diddy documentary, you will be caught up as well. I was expecting the baby oil conversation when it came to Diddy in this documentary. I was not expecting implications that Diddy allegedly called the hit out for Tupac. Just wasn't expecting that going into it. And then seemingly dancing around the MTV stage on Biggie's grave after Biggie tragically died, right? And, like I said, I'm not entirely up to date on the Biggie, Diddy, Tupac drama besides what's in this documentary, but here's what I took away from the documentary. Diddy, for however many years, always seems to use the chaos around him to always elevate himself, right? Whether it was the celebrity basketball game that left 9 people dead, or Tupac's death, or Biggie's death, he was always just lingering in the background and then capitalizing on it. And I know some people have, right? But how have more people not noticed that the common denominator in all of this chaos in the 1990s was centered around Diddy? Or did people know and they just didn't want to say anything? Curtis Jackson is on every interview saying, I'm not scared. I'll say it. I'll say what everybody else doesn't want to say. And it's like, is Diddy just like one of the worst people ever? When you watch this documentary, it's crazy the stuff that he got away with. And don't even get me started on the jurors. I fear they are going to regret being in this documentary, and maybe not even fear. Maybe they should be in this documentary, but it just goes to show like how starstruck, when people are starstruck, it internally changes everything about how something would play out. It's so crazy. If you didn't watch it, I highly, highly recommend it. Now, there's the flip side of the coin on everything. I saw this one TikTok where, and I apologize, I don't know the man's name, but if you watch the documentary, there's this part where they're talking about Biggie wanting to go or not wanting to go to LA because they were told you're not allowed on our turf. It was after Tupac had passed away. And there's this clip where Biggie's like, I'm scared. I feel like somebody's trying to kill me. And based on the context of the documentary, it seems like he's talking about being in LA that specific time. Well, the interviewer, the person who was interviewing Biggie in that moment said, okay, well, that actually was before the first album. So that was years before he was in LA under these circumstances. So do you take it with a grain of salt? I feel like this is also the problem with the media and the way that we retain information is that you never know what to believe. Like ever about anything. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're living in the twilight zone. Okay, let's move on to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Marciano Brunette is suing Demi Engemann. Are we surprised? No, but let's give you the rundown. So Demi, she's on Secret Life. She's part of Mom Talk. Previously claimed that Vanderpump Villa star Marciano Brunette sexually assaulted her while filming Vanderpump Villa. Marciano denies the allegations, and, the mom talkers too are questioning Demi and her motives. So now Marciano is officially suing. Us Weekly obtained legal documents stating Demi falsely labeled him a sexual predator. This is in Marciano's words, which he says damaged his reputation. His legal team says her statements about receiving unwanted touch from him during filming were not true. He claims any physical interaction between the two of them was consensual. This is a direct quote from the legal documents saying, the truth is straightforward. Engemann and Marciano met while filming in Italy. They flirted, they spoke privately, they shared a consensual kiss, they separated. It also says Demi stayed in contact with Marciano for months afterward, via calls, FaceTime, text, invitations, and even location sharing. Behavior the lawsuit argues reflects a continued relationship, not someone responding to assault. We knew this was coming. It's like every time Marciano had done an interview, he was alluding to the fact that there would be legal action. What I'm more surprised about is that he's including Jeff Jenkins, who is a Secret Lives of Mormon Wives producer, for publishing what he calls as false accusations. And this is just a really interesting lens to look at reality TV in, right? You want your reality TV stars to be truthful and be authentic and put it all out there. But it's like, what responsibility do the people behind the scenes have in airing something like that or not? So, we've all the time heard of defamation cases, but maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention to it. But the inclusion of Jeff Jenkins is a new layer for me, and I'm really interested to see how that will play out. Last but certainly not least, in this week's Pop 3, we have Alex, Earle, and Braxton Berrios breakup rumors. So there were reports that came out over the weekend that Alex and Braxton have broken up. They've been together for about 2 years. There's a lot of lore behind that relationship, some TikTok drama. Don't have time to get into it today. But, in case you don't know, Alex Earle, she's a TikTok celebrity. Of course, she had a long run on Dancing with the Stars. She's a runner-up. Braxton Berrios is a football player. And he was in Miami and just recently got traded to the Texans. So fans first started to speculate that there might be trouble in paradise between these two when he wasn't coming to any of her Dancing with the Stars shows. And she, simply said he can't because of football, which would make sense, right? Dancing with the Stars starts in September. We're in the thick of football season right now. So maybe it was difficult for him to get out there. However, now sources are saying that the long distance really played a factor in their split. Sources told Us Weekly distance was a huge factor. She really wants to spend more time in LA, while Braxton lives in Florida but is playing for the Texans. It says Alix is now focused on her new chapter. She's been in great spirits and having fun with her friends. which brings us to the Dancing with the Stars relationship curse, right? There are people out there that say if you go into Dancing with the Stars in a healthy, committed relationship, there is a high probability that after the show, you will no longer be together. You know, it seems to happen quite frequently. And I don't think anything went on between Alex Earle and Val Schmerkowski. But, you know, I think and I'm not saying that this happened with Alex and Braxton. I'm just saying in general with Dancing with the Stars, you know, if you're already insecure in your relationship, having someone like Val and his washboard abs rub all up against your very hot girlfriend probably isn't going to help the situation. You know, not saying that that's what happened, but it definitely has happened with other couples in the past. However, Alex then threw a curveball and posted a TikTok in Braxton's house in Miami. So she did move there earlier this year. So she lives there, right? But she's like eating this Chipotle burrito with no hands. And people are like, oh my gosh, she's at Braxton's house. This means that they're not together. Now, neither Braxton nor Alex have come out and said anything about it. So maybe they never will. Like, who really knows? But Alex did live there. Like, she moved there. So where else would she go? I don't think that's necessarily an indicator of the fact that or the suspicion, I guess, that they are still together. Was he there? You know, he got traded to the Texans, so I'm assuming he wouldn't be there, but who knows? But fans of Alex are very sad because they were just like this. They were like the quintessential All-American football player. I know she's not a cheerleader, but, you know, just Barbie and Ken, pretty much. So we'll see how that plays out. I want to move on to the deep dive, because we got the best trailer that Bravo has put out in a long time with Summer House Season 10. And you guys, I am obsessed with Summer House. I love Summer House. I mean, was the trailer not the most incredible thing that you have ever seen? Summer House is the best show on Bravo right now, in my personal opinion. I don't even think it's really close. It's close with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But I do also think that they have a lot in common. The Summer House crew and the Salt Lake City crew, you know, they have conflict, but they move on from it. They don't ice their cast members out, which I think is a very important part of keeping a show on the air and intact with a current cast. Most of their storylines don't get leaked. You know, they keep everything pretty tight-lipped. They do it for the plot. And, you know, on the off chance that something does get leaked, they're not running to the press to clarify. You know, I'm thinking of the Kyle and Amanda headline that's out there right now that they're living separately. They have never come out and confirmed or deny it, because I believe that we will see it play out on the show. They're true professionals, okay? And I also feel like the Summer House crew are the most genuinely themselves, the most authentic. Like, I feel like what I watch from them on screen is how they would be in real life. I don't really feel like they put on for the cameras. Some people might do it sometimes, but, you know, I think in general, they're pretty authentic in living their life with cameras. The show has me in such a chokehold. Honestly, it should be studied. But the trailer starts with the theme song, "We Never Stop." It's really high, sorry. Instant chills. When they bring back the theme song, which us OG fans, we have been begging them to bring back the theme song, that's when you know a season is going to be a banger, because they're putting in the little breadcrumbs of nostalgia in there. They want to remind you of where we came from, how far we have come. How did we get here? The nostalgia in the season 10 trailer is rich, and it also feels like the shift is coming, right? Which we know the In the City spinoff is coming. So we see Lindsay and Carl hugging in 2017, and we see Kyle proposing to Amanda in 2018, and Kyle asking Carl to be his best man. Now, I do wish they would have included Carl asking Kyle to be the flower boy. My favorite storyline on Summer House ever is Carl asking Kyle to be the flower boy. No disrespect. But they're taking us back to where it all began, because we are getting ready for the next chapter. There's 6 new cast members. 6. Okay, now we don't know if they'll be full-time or if they're just coming in here and there, but if that isn't proof enough that they're getting ready to split the show right in half, like I don't know what else to tell you. One of them being Dara, I believe, I don't know how you say her last name. It's either Levitan or Levitan or I don't know, but Dara. She's an influencer. If you search her on TikTok, you'll recognize her if you're the target demo of Summer House, right? She is a beauty and makeup influencer who also dated Wes Wilson. Did not know that, and that was not included in the trailer at all. It was like if you want to know more about the Housewives, head to bravotv.com. So I went to bravotv.com. I was looking for information about the newbies, and that's what it says. It says Wes Wilson's going to have 2 exes living under the same roof this season of Summer House, and it's Dara. Now, she wasn't really included in the trailer. So I feel like if that was a big dynamic shifter, it would have been included a lot more. I feel like it personally is not going to be that big of a deal. Maybe it's something that they had a brief romance and whatever. It's an influencer. I think it was Sierra or somebody on the Summer House panel at BravoCon said Wes loves to date all the influencers. I believe they were alleging to Brianna Chicken Fry, but maybe they were talking about Dara as well. So then we have Bailey Taylor. She's a content creator. She has the It Girl series. So it's like a person on the street, they run up and interview people and she looks for It Girls. She's the one that kisses Carl in the trailer. And then we have Ben Waddle, one of the two, the Australian Bachelor. His bio says a brutal breakup and not much luck on the Australian Bachelor has left Ben searching for something else. This summer, he's open to fun, flings, and perhaps even a special visitor, as long as they've got confidence, sparks, and a killer smile. Now, he does seem to be in a relationship now. What that means for his future on Summer House, TBD. It's almost like the kiss of death if you get into a relationship one season after joining Summer House, right? But also there is a guy, KJ Dillard, Levi Sabri, Mia Calabrese, and that comes in as Sierra's friend. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on those 3, but like 6 people. 6. We know Gabby's not coming back. Lindsay, I don't really know what's going on with Lindsay. She also wasn't in the trailer a whole lot. We know that she does have a baby now. I don't know if it's like a full-on demotion, friend of type thing because Lindsay is such an integral part of the show. But I'm interested to see, her involvement and how that moves forward. So one of the biggest threads in the trailer is the Sierra, West, and Jesse love triangle. It's like, are they best friends or are they in a never-ending love triangle? It's hard to tell. Jesse says, I'm loving Sierra's energy this year. Wes says, same. Sierra says, I'm coming in. I'm trying to be a little bit more easygoing. She's flirting with Jesse. She's flirting with West. And I say, more power to her. We get this surveillance scene of the guys in their room and Jesse seemingly says, you don't mind if I make out with Sierra, do you? And Wes says, is that in the works? It's like, is West jealous? Is Sierra trying to make him jealous is the question. Because Sierra at one point called Jesse a trash bag and said, I'll never introduce you to any one of my girlfriends because you're such a player. And now she wants to make out with him. I don't buy it. I do feel like Jesse and Sierra's relationship has grown over the past couple of years. And she did apologize for those comments later, but like so much so that she wants to make out with Jesse. I don't necessarily know. I feel like she just kind of wants to be easy breezy, beautiful Sierra Miller. And wherever the wind blows her, that's wherever the wind blows her. But someone says, I think Wes is in love with you. Would you give him another chance? And then Sierra, with tears in her eyes, says, I do miss you. And he says, yeah, me too. How could I not? So obviously, we're all on pins and needles trying to figure out if Sierra and West circle the block. Either Sierra and West give it another whirl or they are really good at pulling one over on us because this trailer makes it seem like hope is still alive for all of us Sierra and West fans. But when you think about things that have been said the past 6 months, specifically by West, all signs point to the fact that they didn't. You know, he was spotted out with Mia from Southern Hospitality in New York City. He said he was interested in Ariana Bierman at BravoCon. And it's like, they're either playing the long con or it just didn't happen. I mean, either way, we're sad, but still. And, you know, even when the trailer came out during this reality hot seat thing, West was on the sidelines of the football game. Sierra was in studio. They were bantering back and forth with their chemistry. And somebody asked West, how many cheerleaders' phone numbers did you get? And his response was something to the effect of, I would never say that in front of Sierra. So I genuinely have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on with them, truly. And that leads us to Kyle and Amanda take 6,578. You know what I'm saying? Amanda wants him to party less, so Kyle became a DJ. Kyle says, Amanda didn't care to support me during the biggest night of my DJ career. I don't know what matters to her anymore. And it's like, you don't? I'm pretty sure it's clear to everybody and their mother who doesn't even watch Summer House what's important to Amanda. It's you coming home before 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, like, it's not rocket science, which, you know, Kyle also denied in the press this week. The story was confusing, right? So in the trailer, we see Amanda say, he fell asleep at a fan's house and came home at 6:30 in the morning. Kyle calls up People magazine. He says, I didn't fall asleep at a fan's house. He said, Amanda didn't want to go with me to this event. I went to the event. There was a after party at a bar, and then there was an after party at an apartment that I went to. He said, I don't do anything to keep myself wired, which says what? He's not doing drugs. That's what I took it as. So I ended up falling asleep. And then by the time I came home, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's like, is the one little thing that you're denying the fact that it was a fan, right? Like, whose apartment did you sleep out at? Because you slept somewhere. The only difference in the story was the fan element of it, which in my opinion, I don't really think makes a huge difference. I mean, it's one thing if it's like your bro's house, but at the same time, you're 43 years old with a wife, should not be coming home at 6 o'clock in the morning. No. Oh my gosh, you guys, if that was me, oh my gosh, David would never be allowed in this house ever again. And I think that's the conversation that people are having online right now about how, and this is not my opinion, but I've been seeing commentary of like, well, Amanda's still with him. And, you know, this has always been Kyle and Amanda's still with him. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I need to watch the season play out, but it's like, you know, easier said than done to get out of a relationship that you're 10 years into, especially when you consider how intertwined everything in their life is, right? With Loverboy, with Summer House, their whole identity, I feel like, is wrapped up in in each other, you know, and that's not a great place to be. They have a fight on the beach. It's like par for the course. I feel like every season they have a fight on the beach. You know, the last one I remember is when Kyle said it's lonely being married to you because you're so antisocial. And then this season he says we have an issue with compatibility, chemistry, and intimacy, which they are not compatible, clearly, because they're not compatible, they don't have chemistry. And because Kyle hasn't catered to Amanda's emotional needs, they probably don't have any intimacy. You know? Like, it's not rocket science. There's also this sit-down scene in the trailer with Amanda and Sierra. And Sierra says, you need to tell Kyle that if you don't stop treating me this way, I am going to leave you. And I couldn't help but to get flashbacks in that moment of the girls surrounding Amanda pre-wedding. They're all sitting down with her in the backyard, and Paige says something to the effect of, I just want you to be happy, and I'm not sure that you are. And calling off a wedding is, you know, way easier than getting a divorce. And, you know, the conversation that backyard has seen some things, okay? But it is moments like this where I feel like I'm going to notice the absence of Paige. You know, because Paige and Amanda were super close. But not only that, Paige sometimes I feel like was the mediator between Kyle and Amanda. And of course, sometimes was on the receiving end of Kyle crashing out. But, you know, she did say last season that her friendship with Kyle has grown. And, you know, they had talked about situations that were going on with Amanda as well. But Amanda and Paige, they go way back. Paige was a bridesmaid in Amanda's wedding. And I just would love to hear what Paige thinks about this in a confessional moment, in that scene with Amanda. And like, I'm glad that Sierra is there because at least somebody with the history is there. But I feel like I'm going to miss Paige in those types of moments. Kyle and Carl almost come to blows, which is crazy. We've seen Carl and Kyle in the peaks and the valleys of their relationship, you know, whether they're hitting their stride and lover boy, or whether Kyle is calling Carl Cocaine Carl, which is unforgivable in my opinion. But we haven't seen an all-out brawl, a fight like this since Luke Branson's I Don't Like You. And Lindsay, with her ROTC training, body slammed Kyle into the front door. You know, that was the COVID season of Summer House. We haven't seen Carl like that in a long time. And we certainly haven't seen him like that since he's been sober. So I feel like for Carl to be that activated, it must have been super, super intense. What prompted it? I need to know what prompted it. Seemingly in the trailer, it's about Amanda. Would it escalate to that with Carl? You know, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they're fine. They're still like hanging out together. They're doing these like reality hot seats together. They're boys, you know, boys will be boys. But Summer House comes back February 3rd, and I cannot wait. I did post about this online, but this is how I think this is all going to play out. I do believe that going into Summer House season 10, the OGs knew that this was going to be their last season. You know, their lives are changing. There's no denying it. Again, the conversation that comes down to, is it the premise of the show or is it the cast? So I feel like they knew coming into it that this was going to be the last season in the Hamptons. Now, there's always been cracks with Kyle and Amanda, but they're seemingly getting bigger, which I think is going to be a lot of this season of Summer House, which will lead into In the City, because we do know that the 3 confirmed cast members are Lindsay, Kyle, and Amanda. Where that leaves Carl, I still don't know. I would find it extremely odd if Carl stayed on Summer House and the other 3 went to In the City, but we don't know that yet. So I think the first season of In the City, we're going to see a lot of Mother Hubbard content. I believe Luke is going to come back in the mix. I believe Danielle is going to come back in the mix. And I believe a lot of it, we're going to see the decision-making process of Kyle and Amanda living separately. And that's going to play out in season 1 of In the City. And then the finale of season 1 is going to be all of us finding out right before BravoCon that they are living separately. Because Kyle did say, I heard it in passing. I think it was like at the content creator happy hour, that they had just wrapped filming. And then later I heard from another cast member that they had wrapped filming like hours after getting to BravoCon in Vegas. So I'm like, they obviously captured the moment that the world found out that they were living separately, or allegedly living separately, right? And now they're just making jokes and jabs about it. Over the weekend, they were at Lindsay's apartment, and Lindsay has this little like toy house for Gemma. It's a Christmas decoration. And Amanda's inside of it. Kyle's knocking on the door saying, it's your estranged husband. And she opens the door and she's like, oh, welcome to my new house. You know, so they're poking fun at the headlines. But I think that that's how that all is going to play out into this new show, which if that's the case, we will be set. Last but certainly not least, let's get into the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives reunion bust. I did not see one positive reaction from this reunion. You know, the reunions for this show have become prolonged teasers for the next season of the show. I felt that way in the season 2 reunion, and I definitely felt that way in the season 3 reunion, which we already know that they have been filming for season 4. We saw the renewal announcement. You know, we listened to Whitney Levin on Call Her Daddy say they've been filming while they're competing on Dancing with the Stars. So they're in this weird limbo of wanting to have a reunion because the show is so hot, but wanting to avoid spoilers for season 4. And I just don't think that it's possible. You know, they're filming too close together to allow a reunion to develop in the way that it should to be successful. So it's like, what would happen if you didn't watch the season 3 reunion and just started watching season 4? Probably nothing, right? And that's the problem, right? It's not like you would be sitting there watching season 4 thinking, I need to go back and watch that reunion. It's not true because the reunion just felt like another episode to me. The reunion was about dad talk, which it's like, this is not why I'm here, like explicitly. This is not what we want. They're talking about how dad talk has gone to Vanderpump Villa. They cleared the stage for Dakota Mortensen and the rest of the guys. It's like, what exactly are we doing here? Because this is no longer a Mormon Wives reunion. This is just plugs for season 4. This is a plug for Vanderpump Villa. And we get a new storyline with Dakota apologizing to Taylor's parents. You know what I mean? So I'm also pretty tired of the cross-pollinization of the show. I understand why they are doing it, but it's like, I don't need the Secret Lives cast to be going to Vanderpump Villa and vice versa. I know that they're just trying to raise stock in the other reality shows, but I feel like it's ran its course. We've been there. We've done that. We don't need to circle the block in this situation. I do think that they should pick a lane, right? I don't think that they should continue to do reunions when they're churning out these seasons because it's just a waste of money. I mean, let's just be completely honest. It's a waste of audience time. I feel like everybody kind of felt that way. But also it's a waste of money. Reunions aren't cheap. They have to get the set. They have to, shoot it. They have to pay the producers and everybody's like, save yourself a couple dollars, Hulu, and live your life. That's just my opinion. And there was no resolve because there couldn't be any resolve, because if there was resolve, it would, again, spoil the relationship dynamics heading into season 4. It was all over the place. It did take me 3 separate times, like 3 separate sit-down tries to get through it too, which I just think is a bad sign. So anyways, it's over. Season 4, we'll get Fruity Pebbles. We'll get Dancing with the Stars. We'll get all the things. Also, let me just say this about the reunion. I do not like Brett. Actually, the more that I watched this reunion, the more it made sense why Demi and Brett are married. Because they're very similar. They pop off at the flip of a switch. They're like mean and vicious in their attacks of people. Like Zach, he's like sitting there calling Zach what did he call him? Like a munchkin or something? It's like, dude, you're in your 40s and you're talking to people like that. It just weirded me out, and I feel like I'm good. Between that showing and the amount of Fruity Pebbles content I have seen post Jesse's story from Brett specifically, I'm good. That's just my other little final piece of information for y'all. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want more, come join the Patreon. Bravo Friday, Bachelor Tuesday, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. If you have not left a review, please do so. It helps the show tremendously. I haven't had a review in a long time, and one of the last ones I had said I had a grating voice, but they did give me 4 stars, so I appreciate that. So if you could just give me like a 4-star, 5-star, but leave out the part about me having a grating voice, that would be really great. I'll see you next week, and as always, love you like a sis.